while loop are used to execute a block of code. Yes, absolutely, repeatedly. But please note here, when the condition is true. Programming in R, it starts with the assignment value. So what is the assignment operator that we use? Arrow mark. I'll be writing a repeat loop followed by the code to execution, and I have to give a break statement. Okay, so this is very important one. Hello, I welcome you all to this session. So over here today we'll be discussing the statistical computing and R programming subject. So yes, it's a 5th sem subject, and today we are dealing with unit 2. So we have completed our unit 1 and it's our unit 2 session. So yes, the unit 2 is all about reading and writing files. So let's see what is there with respect to reading and writing files. That's with respect to our programming. Over here, my name is Deepa Kutnikar. I'm working as an assistant professor under Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. Yes, let's move forward and see what's the agenda of today's class. Yeah, in today's class, we'll be learning like what are reading files, what are writing files. So what is the keywords that is being utilized by our program. Up next, we also be learning like what are the different calling functions, what are the different loops, how the programming will be happening inside the R program. Then what is a standalone function. Then we also have the stacking functions. Up next, we'll be also learning the writing functions, exceptions, timings, and visibility. So this is the agenda of today's session. Reading and writing files, it is one of the crucial parameter when we consider with respect to programming. Yes, absolutely. Reading the file is very important. In the same way, we have to write the things inside our program, correct? So in order to do that, we need some keywords or the way of communication, correct? So that's where the reading and keywords, over here we have defined that. So we can see the first keyword that we can utilize in order to read a program, or we can say it has a read.csv. CSV is nothing but comma separated values. So this function is utilized to read the functions or the values inside that program. This is utilized to return the data frame, which is utilized to form a system, or we can say form a function. Yes, absolutely. It returns the data frame in order to complete our analysis. So this is with respect to read.csv. CSV is nothing but comma separated values, right? So up next we have read.table. Yes, absolutely. As the name itself says, it is used to read the entries of a table. Alright, in the same way, when we read the CSV file as well as the table file, we have to also write, correct? Write.csv, this is a function which is used to write a data frame to a CSV file. So what is a CSV file? CSV file, please remember that it is nothing but comma separated value file. Up next, the same way, if we have to write any of the elements inside the table, or we can say entry inside the table, then we have to go with the keyword that's write.table. So this is all about reading as well as the writing files. Yes, let's move forward and let's see the example of read and write file. So we know the keywords. Now how to utilize those keywords inside the example. That's a real-time example. Yeah, we can see here we are creating a sample data frame. So how to create a sample data frame? By using a keyword data frame. Okay, so I'll be having two entries inside the data frame, one of name and one more of age. It's been defined, or we have created that data frame. Up next, we have to write. Let's consider if I want to write that file to a CSV file, then I can use that direct keyword which is available, which is nothing but write.csv. So we can see here that's a syntax or example, like we are calling this data to form as a CSV file with a name, that's a row name as false. So it says like it should enter from column wise. Up next, read the CSV file. So as we wrote the data inside the CSV file. Now I have to read the data from the CSV file. So for that, as we have already discussed, the syntax remains the same. It's read.csv, and what I have to read? I have to read a data from this data variable. Okay, so this is how a simple example works. Let's move forward and let's see what is programming. Yes, exactly. Programming is nothing but set of instructions, right? And program is also called as coding. Now, let's see how programming happens in R. So over here, we have that programming language that supports various programming concepts. Yes, absolutely. If we consider programming, then it includes many crucial things like data types, variables, then functions. Correct, right? Only if we use all these things, then we can create a good frame of data or a good structure of data, right? So yes, absolutely. Over here, we can see the basic things that we utilize in order to write a program. So yes, it is a data type. First one is a variable. So yes, variables is nothing but it works as a container in order to store our information or the data, right? So similarly, data types, as we already know, we have different set of data types, and according to my requirement, I'll be calling that type of data and I'll be assigning the value to it. All right. Up next is a loops. So why is this loops used? If you want your program to run for a repeated time, then we'll be going with the loop. So yes, under loops we have multiple types that we'll be seeing in our further slides. And next is a function. Yeah, what is a function? It is a reusable block of code that can be taken by writing arguments, or we can also say by considering parameters as well as written values. So these are the basic parameters that is required when you start designing your program, right? Up next, let's see the example for our simple programming. Okay, yes, programming in R, it starts with the assignment value. So what is the assignment operator that we use? Arrow marks. We are assigning a value inside a variable. Done. Now, if I want to print a value, I'll be using a simple keyword, that's print of x. Up next, if I want to define some calculation, so how to do that? Yes, absolutely. I am defining a function with a parameter saying length or width, and I can calculate the area. How to calculate the area? Yes, I have to define that function. So what is that? It is area is equal to length into width, and what it has to return? It has to return the value that we get under area. So this is how I can call a function. And up next, I have to, if I want to call the function, then I'll be saying yes, area, calculate area of 5,3, and I want to return that value, or I want to print that value. I'll be using this print of area, right? So this is an example wherein we are defining or we are creating a variable. Okay, we are assigning some values into that variable and then we are printing that, followed by defining a function or creating a function and then printing that. So this is a simple example. Now we did understood like yes, what are the parameters that are very important. Now let's move forward and understand. If I say function, what is the important thing under that function? So let's go with calling function. As the name itself says, if I need anything, then I need some keyword to call back, correct? In order to interrupt or in order to take the things. So that's where we have to go with calling functions. We can say function, yes, absolutely, it is a block of organized code, and yes, it can be reused according to a requirement, which is used for specific task only. And we can also say the functions in R called using the function name followed by parenthesis containing arguments. So that is a syntax format what we have defined. So now let's see what are the different types of functions that is utilized by R. We have both built-in functions as well as the user-defined functions. So built-in functions is nothing but a library of functions which is readily available, or user-defined functions is nothing but a function which a user will be creating it according to the requirement. So let's see what are the different examples we have. We have considered few examples like mean of, then sum of. So this is used to find out the mean of a value, then sum is in order to calculate the sum, we have to go with that sum function. Then SD is nothing but whenever we want to go with calculating that standard deviation, we can use that directly. So these are few functions that we can directly utilize in order to perform our operations. All right, let's move forward. Now, okay, we are done with the function. Let's understand what are loops and conditions and why is it used. Conditions are nothing but conditional control flow that allows for dynamic and repetitive execution of the task. So we can note here the conditions are used for dynamic and repetitive execution of the code. If you want to execute your code for a number of times or say multiple times, then you will be giving a condition like, yes, at this point of time, I want this part of code to execute. Now, let's see the types of conditional statements. Yes, absolutely. Whenever we consider conditional statement, the first thing that comes into our mind is none other than a if statement. So if statement, it only executes the complete block of code when the condition is true. Please know that it will only execute the thing only when the condition is true. So let's see the syntax. Over here, we have a if starting with some condition. We have to provide that condition followed by the statements. So this is how we create our if loop. Now, we know that only if it is true, then my loop will work. What if we have both true and false condition? That's exactly none other than if-else loop, okay? Or we can say if-else condition. So, yes, we can see here it executes one block of code if the condition is true, and then it will execute one more block only if the condition will be false, okay? So, yes, we can say like if I have only one condition, then I can go with the if statement. If I am having both the conditions like a true and the false, then I can directly go with the if-else statement, okay? Now, let's see the syntax over here. If syntax, it remains the same, and else I have to add the condition. That's a code for false. That's a code for false. We have to write the statement, and this is how the if-else statement works. All right. So now we did understood like what is condition. Next, let's understand what are loops, okay? Yeah, over here, loops are used to repeatedly execute a block of code, okay? As we know, if there is some condition, I can go with the conditional statements. If it is a repetition of the same code, then I can directly go with the loops. So yes, in R, it provides three main types of loops, all right? So the first one is a for loop. So let's see how this for loop will be used. Yes, absolutely. For loops are used to execute a block of code repeatedly for a specific number of iterations. All right. So let's see a syntax. Over here, we can see the for followed by a sequence of condition where I'll be starting like I can say if I want my condition to start with 0, all right, then I'll be defining some I value like it should end by greater than or equal to 9, and how it should work, like it should work with I incremented. Okay, so this is some condition that I'll be writing a sequence of variable inside that loop, and yes, followed by the code for execution. So this is how the for loop works. Next, let's see how to go with the while loop. While loop are used to execute a block of code. Yes, absolutely, repeatedly. But please note here when the condition is true. So that's where we will be using this while loop. And the syntax is like we have to write the condition along with the while statement followed by the program statement or the code. This is a complete syntax for our while loop. Up next is the third main crucial loop that we utilize in R, which is none other than return. So yes, absolutely, over here we can see it is a repeat loop which is used to execute a block of code indefinitely until it will get a break statement. Okay, over here we have to take care of break statement. Only when it gets a break statement, then the loop stops. Until that, it will be keep on running. The syntax follows over here. I'll be writing a repeat loop followed by the code to execution, and I have to give a break statement. Okay, so this is very important one. Only when I give a break, then my loop will be stopping. So this is all about conditions and loops. Now, let's move forward and understand some main thing that's none other than standalone statement. We can say standalone statement is a single statement in R which can be executed independently. Okay, so that's more important. Here we can see few of the independent or standalone statements like assignment statement. So these statements are used to assign a value into the variable, and up is a function calls where we can call a function with a specified arguments. Alright, this is how the function call goes. Up next is a print statement. Yes, even the print statement is also a standalone statement. Okay, there is no need of intervention in between. If you just give a print and give the value, it will directly print it for you. Okay, these statements will print the values of a variable or a expression. So this is very important one. So these are the statements which we consider it has a standalone function, because these statements can go independently without any intervention. Alright, let's move forward and let's see a small example for this. So yes, assignment statement, as we can know, we are assigning 5 into x. Alright, now we are giving a function call. With respect to function call, we can have a look. We are defining, so this mean of we had observed in our calling function, correct? The examples for calling function, we had noticed that yes, even we are utilizing it like I want a mean value of these variables. All right, it will be calculating it. And what's next? It has to print the statement. Okay, so over here we did observe different statements with respect to the assignment operator, then the function, and then the print statement. Up next, let's see what are the stacking statements. As we know standalone, now it's important to understand regarding stacking statements. So in a programming, stacking statement often refers to nesting condition. Alright, so when is it used? When there is a nesting conditional statements, at that time we can call the set of code as a stacking statement. Alright, so it allows more complex decision making logic. Okay, and also we can say stacking statements involves in executing multiple R statements together. So how is this formed? This can be achieved by using curly brackets to group the complete set of statements. So let's see an example over here. Yes, it starts with the curly bracket and followed by assignment operators. All right, then we are assigning a variable with result, wherein we'll be doing an addition operation followed by printing the result. Alright, so this is how stacking statement will work. Let's move forward and understand what is exception. Exception, as the name itself implies, it is an exception, okay? And it will be disrupting the normal program's execution. Now let's see what is the purpose of calling this exception. Yes, the exception and exception handling mechanism, it gives or provides a structured way to manage the abnormal functionalities, or if there is some crashing happens, then this exception is called. Also, it allows for graceful recovery or termination. Please note that it is utilized to recover or terminate the things. Alright, now let's see the examples of this exception. Yes, the first one is TryCatch. TryCatch is one of most oftenly or most widely used example of exception. So this is a function which is used to catch and handle the exceptions. Alright, next type is a stop. So this function is used to stop the execution. Like whenever the program is running, it is running inside the loop. I want to stop. At that time, I can directly call or provide this keyword inside my program so that I can have an exception of stopping the program. Now, let's understand this TryCatch in brief. TryCatch is a function which enables the execution of a code with try, that's a try block. And then what happens next is, if any error or a warning occurs, then during this execution, it allows for capturing and handling of that specific condition with the designated catch block. So we'll be having two blocks over here. The first one is a try block and next is a catch block. Okay. So this is one of the most widely used exception. Now we can see this prevents the program from abruptly terminating or allowing restful error recovery or any lagging. So this is a exception. Let's have an example for TryCatch. Over here, you can see we are using this TryCatch keyword to handle an exception. I'm just calling or assigning this TryCatch to a variable known as result. And what I'm doing, I'm assigning a expression that's a code. And over here, I'm assigning some value that's x is been assigned by 5 by 0. Now what happens? It has to show error, correct? So it will check for error, like is there any function which is calling or which is what the error. Then what it has to do? It has to print that. Yes, absolutely. Print paste an error occurred. Whatever the error which is occurred in the function, it has to be printed. So we are using this block. So this is a small example with respect to our TryCatch. Alright, let's move forward and understand timing. Timing is very important, correct? Absolutely. Over here in R also we are defining timings, wherein R provides several functions for measuring the execution time of code. So once you hear time, yes, absolutely, it will be related to your execution time. Now we can see the keyword which is used for execution is none other than system.time. Okay, that measures the execution of time of block of code. All right, now we have one more time related keyword, so micro benchmark. This is a function which provides more detailed benchmarking capabilities. So yes, whenever there is a benchmarking capability or benchmarking requirement, we can directly go with that. Followed by, we have an example over here. Have a look. We are defining a keyword that's system.time. And what am I giving? I'm giving a statement. The sum of n nor, I'm just assigning it to a result. So you can see that the system time will give you us the time which is required for execution of this result statement. Alright, so this is a syntax. Let's move forward and see what is visibility is. In R, visibility refers to scope of variables as well as functions. Okay, so here are some examples like global environment. So what happens in global environment? Either variables and functions defined in a global environment are accessible from anywhere. So as the name itself says, it's a global environment. You can just take the data whenever you want. Okay, there is no need to again and again go ahead and defining that. It's a global to your complete environment, and if you need that or if there is any requirement, you can directly pick. All right, up next is a function scope. The variable and the function defined within a function are only accessible. Okay, please note the difference within that function. Okay, this gives a limited access and this gives access like from wherever you want you can pick the data, but it has to be defined with a global environment. So this is with respect to visibility. Let's see an example for visibility. Over here, we are defining a variable with global environment. Okay, that's x is assigned with the value 5. Next, I am defining a complete function to access the global variable. Okay, so over here, I am defining my function as function of I need to print this value, that's x. All right. So now what to do? I have to call the function. It's my function. All right. So this was with respect to Unit 2. We have completed all the topics under Unit 2, and yes, all the very best for your upcoming internals. Thank you so much. Thank you.